Dr. Seuss's book, Oh, the Places You'll Go, evokes within me a spirited expectation of what is yet to come. There's an air of anticipatory excitement throughout the story, even for adult readers. There's a sense of delightful exhilaration at the outset of the journey that happens in the story, and for many of us who go on journeys as well. When we break the predictability of life's routine and go out into the world and experience something new, we cast ourselves willingly into the unknown. And growing up, my church would send the youth group on a mission trip each summer. Each program year, the anticipation would build and build until it finally peaked in this 1 week a year where I and some of my best friends would get to travel somewhere that we'd never been, to meet people we'd never met, and to serve the underserved people of the community that we traveled to. Each year, the same eagerness that is captured within Dr. Seuss's famous children's story was found within me. It was a ritual of newness, a time of unscripted, raw experience where anything could happen and everything from the time I woke up to the time I went to sleep each day was something brand new, something unexpected. And I loved every minute of it. We were awakened in a way that only the smashing of the routine that we knew could awaken us. And we were experiencing life, experiencing God in so many new ways. And these moments are treasured memories, foundational to my faith and faith journey. The towns and spaces where these moments occurred are holy ground, consecrated by my personal experience of God in those places. In every new place, I was able to see God in some way, even if I didn't immediately know God was there. I so looked forward to these journeys. And when we experience divinity, we often mark these places where we do so as holy ground. In our Bible study sessions this week, many of our fellow church family shared about their own spaces where they felt that divine connection. Places like mountaintops, coastline views, or even the gardens in their front yard. All are places that have revealed the fact that God is with us in so many different ways and in so many different places. And in many cases, these experiences come in unexpected times. Jacob, in our lesson from Genesis today, comes across a divine experience in an unexpected place. Now, Jacob is on the run from his brother Esau. Jacob has just cheated his older brother out of his birthright and is fleeing Esau's retribution. And he finds himself deep in the wilderness and alone. Now, imagine for a moment Jacob's position. He is on a journey now, fleeing the only life he has ever known. He is alone in the dark of night on the road to somewhere, having traveled 50 miles already with hundreds more to go. He must be anxious. He must be fearful. He must feel displaced. He must feel abandoned, with no one to blame but himself. He is in a personal state of limbo, in between where he has been and where he might end up. His moment of fearful liminality parallels the historical audience of the book of Genesis. Genesis was written for the Israelite people who were under the occupation of the Babylonian Empire. They too were in a space of liminality, an ambiguous space between belonging and not belonging, the space between spaces. Like the ancient Israelites, Jacob feels his misfortune has been caused by his own misdeeds. But it is in this state of in-betweenness that God comes to Jacob in a dream. The dream, which contains the famous imagery of Jacob's ladder, is an influential, foundational moment in the Jewish faith. And the imagery found in this dream is a key part of understanding its relation to its intended audience. Now, author Richard Pervo presents the idea that the ladder in this story is the story's reflection of the Babylonian ziggurats of the day, these towering buildings that rose far above the common people, the Israelite people that lived in the shadows. And the ladder in this dream is a metaphorical parallel to those structures. And God's messengers are using these Babylonian structures to carry messages up and down from heaven to the Israelite people. Now, with this in mind, I believe this is a literary act of defiance on the part of the author of this passage. The idea of God's messengers using the infrastructure built by an oppressor makes those gigantic buildings less imposing and instills a hope in the Israelites living in the shadow of those towers that God is indeed still with them. And God even voices this point, promising to be with Jacob, who will later be renamed Israel, no matter where he goes, no matter where Jacob is, whether he is in his home surrounded by the ones he loves, or whether he is out in the wilderness alone, in a personal state of limbo, God is always with him. Similarly, when we are in our wilderness moments, our moments where we may feel lost or where our future is uncertain, even where we'd least expect God to be, God is there with us. Now, it's no secret that we as humans use places and spaces as a framework for the way we find meaning in life. I can walk into any of the schools where I stayed during a mission trip and hear the echoes of the past, even see the faces that I shared those moments with as if they were right there beside me. And these places that are known in the Celtic tradition as thin places are so important to us because they are places in our life where the veil between us and the transcendent beyond was so thin that it didn't seem to even be there at all. And we remember those places. Like Jacob, we recognize the spiritual importance of the moments that we experience there. And Jacob consecrates this location, calling it Bet-El, which is the Hebrew for house of God. Undoubtedly, Jacob will carry this place in his heart forever. And he even returns there and memorializes the site where God's powerful yet unexpected visit occurred. But Jacob didn't stay there. He kept walking. He was blessed by God in that moment in order that he would journey on and continue to be a blessing to others. And he could not do so by staying in one place for long. Just as God is on the move, so too was Jacob, who now knew that God was everywhere that he might ever end up. Now, we as a faith community are in a similar in-between space in our own journey as a congregation. COVID-19 has produced challenges and forced us out of the routine and familiar ways that we've practiced our faith. We've had to adapt, seeking God in new and unexpected ways. As Betty Lighty has said in our Bible study this week, God is still speaking even through Zoom. We've had to worship outside of our sanctuary. But like Betty said, we've come to realize that church is in fact not the building itself, but the people. And no matter where we are, no matter how we meet, we are still the church. We've remained connected to one another through safe means and safe distance, and we will continue to do so. We've continued to love and support one another through these difficult times. We've remained a faith family throughout the wilderness and unexpected and unfamiliar path that is COVID-19. We are also facing the liminal in-between space of discernment. What will our future as a faith community look like? Where will it take place? Will the way we do things look the same? Where will our journey lead? These questions can make us nervous. And this angst can lead to all sorts of emotions, fear, anger, displacement, and even maybe abandonment. But as we press into our journey through the wilderness, Jacob's story reminds us that even in those times of fear, even if it may not seem like it at first, God is there, waiting to make an unexpected appearance, waiting to bless us with a new thing, not yet seen. And from there, oh friends, just imagine the places that we will go. Amen.